Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 61. That's correct. Episode number 61 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we are coming to you once again from the worldwide headquarters of GSM Services as we look forward to having some great discussions in the coming weeks and months. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We are highlighting another great organization today and have Leah Hedgpath, Leah, with us today. Leah is the Executive Director of the Dallas Shoals Christian Ministry. Leah, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are very welcome. So, as usual, we're going to get right to it, and this first question we'll kind of go through the bulk of much of what we want to talk about. But tell us about yourself, the organization, the mission, just anything you want to share again about yourself and the organization, your role at the organization, and just, have at it.
All right. Well, I have been volunteering with this organization, the Dallas Christian Ministry, forever. In 1986, when it was started,
right.
It started as a Christmas program, and there was just an obvious need in our community that we just needed to do more. And my great-grandmother was the first executive director.
Your great-grandmother?
My great-grandmother.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a connection.
Yes. And so after she did it and was the executive director until she passed, my grandmother took over after her. When she passed, my mom took over, and this coming year will be my 5th year with the Dallas Ministry as executive director. So it's kind of
that might be a family, what you would
right.
call a family affair. Yes.
Which growing up, I'm a Gaston County born and raised, and I always knew in my heart I was going to help people. I never planned on taking the ministry over ever. My education is in counseling and psychology, so I always knew that some way I would help.
Okay.
But when my mother took over as executive director, her health just started declining, and I stepped in the role, and it was just clear as day, okay, here it is. This is where you're supposed to be. And it's been my life for a very long time now. I am a mother of a 3.5-year-old brilliant special needs kid.
Okay.
He's just the light of my life. So when I'm not at the ministry, I'm working with him, doing therapies with him.
Okay.
And so pretty much my life just consists of helping and being a great mother. That's pretty much what it is.
All right. Well, very good. So can you share specifically, if you've been involved with the community around here at all, a lot of people I'm sure have heard of the Dallas Christian Ministry. I'm going to shorten
right.
the title a little bit while we're talking, but they might not know the specific mission of the organization. So what is the mission? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis? Or just specifically, we can go to the website and read it because
right.
I did that myself. But kind of just from your own words, kind of share what is it, the mission, and what are you guys trying to accomplish?
So our mission is to help people, period.
Okay.
Gaston County residents are our main focus, of course. But anyone that comes to our facility and they have a need, we're going to try to meet that need. We focus financially on Dallas, Alexis, Stanley, and Shoals.
Okay.
So anyone that would need assistance with any kind of medication assistance or utility bill assistance, they would need to live in those areas. But food-wise, we cover the whole county.
Okay. So you kind of shared a good story of how you ended up there. Can you,
Mm-hmm.
so specifically, you mentioned it was started as a Christmas, program. Right. Is that the best way to describe that?
Yes. I think it was called White Christmas.
Okay.
And it was just a group of people that got together to start helping kids at Christmas time. And it was just so evident that these families needed more than just Christmas help. They needed help with their groceries. They needed financial assistance. They needed guidance. And that's when the ministers of the Dallas churches got together and said, okay, well, instead of having the separate pantries in the churches, let's just have one big pantry that we all donate to, and everyone in the area can go there. And that's how it started. So
going back from the beginning to now, so 1986 to now,
right.
I guess, 1986, I would have been maybe a 10th grader here at Ashbrook High School. That was a long time ago. Was that before you were born?
I was born in 88 too.
Yeah. So you were born the year I graduated high school. Wow. So talk about some of the initiatives, maybe some of the specifics. Are you maybe the day in the life, of Dallas Christian Ministry? Just kind of give our listeners a feel for, what are the specific things that you guys are doing?
Okay, so we have 7 different programs that we run. We have our food pantry, which is on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 12, we distribute food. It's a drive-through, so they can just drive up, give a little bit of information, and we put the food in the car. They don't even have to get out of their vehicle. And then we have our medication assistance program, and that covers life-sustaining medications and also medications that they can't afford that they would need, like Tylenol, allergy medication, anything like that. Then we have our utility assistance program, where we do, and we've had several people ask, do we give people money for their bill? No, we do not do that. We have accounts with each utility company,
municipality or whoever.
Yes,
so you're paying them directly.
Clients never receive any type of money or anything like that from us. And then we have our Hope for the Homeless program. That's one of our newest programs. Our homeless population had increased dramatically, especially during COVID. And they needed a little bit more assistance during that time because they were out in the elements. They couldn't just stay home. They had no home, so they were out. So we had to give them a little bit of additional assistance. And it was very just like in our face, wow, this is an issue. This is a problem. So right now we have 16 active homeless clients enrolled in our Hope for the Homeless program. They receive a hot meal once a week. They receive blankets and coats and things during the wintertime. Anything they would need for summertime, we have battery-operated fans, things like that for them. Just anything that might make their life easier, while we're also trying to guide them out of homelessness. It's not just let's give so that they can keep staying there.
Sure.
It's trying to help them build a better life. And then we have our CFSP program, which is the lowest income seniors in Gaston County. We have 145 enrolled in that with a waiting list of 25.
Wow.
And those are vetted through the Second Harvest Food Bank. So they are, they have the lowest income of all the seniors in Gaston County. So we give them additional support throughout the month and try to give them extra hygiene items, things that they may not be able to afford at the store, cleaning supplies and things like that. And then we have our referral program where if we can't help, we're going to find somebody that will.
Okay.
And then we have our Christmas program, which is huge, and it's fixing to ramp up. I can't believe we're already there. But we help up to 600 kids in Christmas and also special needs clients as well.
Okay. All right. So
it's a lot of information.
In about 2 minutes or 2 or 3 minutes, we just covered quite a bit of information. So a couple of quick questions. Have you seen, I probably know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyway. Have you seen just an increase in overall need in the past 2.5 years or so since COVID started in general, or?
Yes. Let me tell you about our first day open for COVID. Okay. When it was announced, everything closed, or closing down. I had received a phone call from one of our board members that was like, okay, are we closing? And I'm like, this is what we're a crisis agency. This is a crisis. Like, this is what we're made for. And then we got word that most agencies closed, at least for a little bit until they could kind of figure it out. But within 48 hours, I have an incredible team, let me just say. Within 48 hours, we had a plan in place. We were ready. We did not close one day. We put it out there how we were going to do it. And we walked outside, and they were lined down the street as far as you could see. Wrapped blocks and blocks down. And me and my volunteers, we all just kind of stood out in the parking lot like, oh, my goodness.
Wow,
what are we going to do? We were used to serving, our cap was like 80 families every time we were open. Right now, we can do up to 300.
Okay.
So if that shows you how much our food pantry has grown.
Four times as many.
Oh, yes. It has It's mind-blowing. We actually received an award from Second Harvest Food Bank for distributing 1.5 million pounds of food in 2020 and 2021.
Okay.
From September to September, so 1 year's time.
Wow.
1.5 million pounds. And we are a tiny building. I don't know if you've ever went by there.
I know where it is, yes.
Yes, and we always say
Trade Street, right?
Yes,
Yep.
right on the main street there.
Yep.
And we always say, like, we do mighty things with the very small space.
So just kind of a follow-up question. Are you seeing that lighten up any, or is it still pretty much the same as that was at the peak? Or
I think it is starting to finally let up a little bit. You know, there for a while it was we were serving until we had no food. I mean, the line never ended. And it would be 300 to 400 families. And now our average is about 180 families a day. Yeah.
Right. Well,
it's still a lot more than what we're used to.
But a little encouraging maybe to some.
Right. Yes.
Maybe there might not be quite as much need out there specifically from COVID. You mentioned I have just a follow-up question maybe on the senior program. I know with my work with United Way, we've seen some data and information about that sector can be a little underserved relative to others. Is that kind of, and you said that one program had a waiting list.
Yes, it has
so
a waiting
kind
list.
of you experienced kind of the same thing with your team and organization?
Yes, very much so. We have several clients that have told us that they just really don't know what they would do if it wasn't for us being able to provide those extra items.
So you've already shared, again, those good programs and kind of, you already shared a few answers to this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. But can you think back to your time with the organization, some specific examples, obviously without sharing any specific information, but some success stories or a family or individual that you guys have impacted that you can share with our listeners?
So we actually helped. A lady came in and she had cancer. Her uncle was very, very sick. She was helping him financially. They were really struggling. And we were able to provide groceries for them for about a year. We helped them, financial assistance when needed. And she is now a active volunteer giving back with our organization. Her uncle is doing well. They no longer need our assistance. They're there serving and giving back. So that's one of my favorites, just because I get to see them at least, throughout the month and see how good they're doing, and knowing that they wouldn't have been able to be there if it wasn't for our organization. Also, our homeless clients. I know a lot of people don't see it as a success, but I do see their progress and the little steps that they're making. And I've watched quite a few transition from homelessness into having a home. And with our organization too, a lot of times we don't get to see the other side of the story. Once we help, we don't really know how much it impacts. And, we'll get little cards in the mail sometimes that just say, we didn't know how we were going to feed our family, but this is how we did it. And, just by giving that little bit, we have no idea when they pull out of our parking lot how it really does impact their life. Not just food, but kindness. And that's a big thing with our organization is no judgment and being kind always.
So looking back again, it's a similar question, but is there something you can think of maybe that you're most proud of accomplishing during the last 5 or 6 years? Or you've been involved obviously a lot longer, but as the executive director of the organization, but it doesn't have to be just that time. It can be any of your time there.
We had setback. COVID really kind of slapped us in the face and made us really look at how we operated, not just on a day-to-day basis, but our board, how we function. And so we have been in the process of working with a consultant and rebranding and working on our board structure. And I think I am most proud of where we are right now. I think that we've grown the most that we have in the last 2 years. And I just, when I take a step back and I look at it, it almost makes me emotional. Not just because my family ties in it and that this has been something we've been involved in forever. But it's just to actually see how many people we're helping and to know the difference that we're making and to be able to go from serving 25 families a week to 180 now a day. And that's families. That's not individuals. That breaks down to a good many people. Last month we served and fed 1,000 children.
Okay.
So just the little things like that. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying about our board structure, we're working with GSB to restructure our board, and we have now, we never really had goals, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and like a strategic plan or anything like that.
We've always just been there to help, but now it's like, wow, we're really doing it. So maybe we should have a plan.
Sure.
And so now we have our 3-year goals, our 5-year goals, and I'm really excited about the future and what we're going to do and what a difference we're going to make in our community.
So I didn't prompt that, but that's a perfect segue into the next question. So looking ahead, what do you, 5 or 10 years down the road, what do you see the organization looking like, accomplishing, or just, anything that you'd like to share there?
Right. So one of our main things is just reaching more people. We've even noticed on our Facebook post, I post a lot on Facebook. I don't know if anybody watches our videos, but there's people all the time that comments like, I didn't know that Dallas had a food pantry. I didn't know this existed. And so just reaching the people, not just for donations, because we always need donations, but to reach the people that really may need our assistance that did not know that we were there.
Sure.
So
without having to come to Gastonia or wherever the case may be.
Right, yes. And, just like I said, moving forward and restructuring our board, having those things in place to where, if another crisis does spring up.
Let's hope not, but yes.
Let's hope not. But that we're better prepared on what to do and how to serve.
So, remember, this is a podcast about Gaston County specifically, but we've had some of the things we've talked about over the 60 episodes is kind of spread out beyond Gaston County. But knowing what you know about Gaston County, the Dallas Christian Ministry, why would you say Gaston County? And you've already shared the numerous reasons, but maybe why is Gaston County better? Because your ministry is here.
I'm not going to lie to you. During COVID especially, I was like, maybe we should close the doors. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. It was really difficult. But then when you really take a step back and look at how many people it serves, the organization itself, what it does for the community, just in financial assistance alone, how much it helps the clients. I think it would be detrimental to our county if we closed our doors.
Especially that, you mentioned, I guess Dallas, Shoals, Stanley, and Alexis, right?
Right,
okay,
yes.
So that's areas that may not have anything else specific.
Right.
Unlike, Belmont, Mount Holly, Gastonia, already have some other organizations that are serving those areas. Yeah, and to your point, my experience with community work and with owning a business is it's easy to get caught up in that day-to-day stuff, isn't it? And it can be harder to really take a step back and look at the impact that you're having. So
especially when it's a crisis agency, it feels like putting out little fires all the time. Yeah.
Well, that reminds me when I was researching before today and looking at your website, I did specifically see you're talking about the 3 or 4 things that you guys are kind of focused on. What I think you worded it as development, or it wasn't just and you already mentioned it about your homeless initiatives. It's not just about a handout.
Right.
Okay. So can you kind of what when somebody sees it on the website, kind of maybe describe what do you mean by that about just development along with, I'm not sure that's the wording that was used. So forgive me if I'm not saying that correctly now, but kind of maybe talk about that when you what's the phrase, a hand up as opposed to a hand out.
Yeah. Right. Yes. And so that's the way we look at it. We are non-judgmental when they come because we don't know what they're going through.
Correct.
And there are clients that we serve every week, but we have to look at it as we are there to help. But when we really get to talking to these clients and then you find out the why of it, it's not just giving them something and sending them on their way. It's talking with them, finding out the why. Why are you needing groceries so much? Why are you not able to afford your medication? Why do you need help with your power bill? And then you may find out, well, my wife has cancer and we've been paying all these medical bills. And then you can say, well, let me get you set up and referred to the cancer services. Maybe they're able to help you. It's finding out their story and guiding them in the right direction so that you fix the problem and you're not just giving them groceries over and over or paying their power bill every 6 months because it's time to pay it. But that you guide them in the right direction so that when that time comes, they're able to pay it themselves.
So can I ask, you've mentioned a couple of things, but what is your primary fundraising, and or do you have fundraising events? Are you tied in with other organizations? Is it mostly just donations from benefactors or yes?
Right. So we receive multiple grants.
Okay.
I apply for grants all the time. We get funding from churches and individuals. That's one thing that we are working on is our fundraising. We used to do a big chicken and dumplings dinner, but COVID stopped that. We are working on our fundraising. But yes, we take donations. We do online donations. Sorry, this thing is falling off my head here.
Well, you probably tighten up the top. I think we'll solve that problem.
There we go.
There you go.
There
Perfect.
we go. So we do online donations, and people can bring donations, not just monetary donations, of course, but food donations, hygiene donations. We're accepting new items for Christmas.
Okay.
We have 600 kids that we're going to have to fill Christmas for, so any donations is great.
Okay, very good. So before we move on, is there anything I haven't asked that I should have? Anything you'd like to share, about the organization before we kind of move on to these other questions? Of course, before we finish, we'll make sure that all our listeners know how to get in touch with the organization, donate, or anything like that. But anything I haven't asked that?
Not really. I just do want to do a shout out to my volunteers. I have a group of about 30 volunteers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wonderful volunteers. I could not do it without them. So I just want to say hey to them and thank them for all their hard work too.
Well, very good. Yeah, nothing like this can happen and make an impact without either a team, volunteers, or whatever the case may be. And I tell you, if nothing else we've learned in the last 60 episodes of this podcast is that's absolutely what happens. So I appreciate you sharing that. So we're going to move on. Again, this is a podcast about Gaston County. So we throw in a few Gaston County related questions on every episode. And this is really what your volunteers, your team, your family, this is really what they want to know about you if they don't already know this. Okay. And we're going to call this, I don't know that we had a Dallas-based organization on the podcast yet? We're going to call this our Dallas Speed Round of Questions. Okay. This is very serious stuff. So first question, Leah, what is your favorite Tony's ice cream flavor? Grape.
Oh,
that's
all-time favorite.
That is a more common answer than you would have.
It is so good. It doesn't seem like it would be good, but it's so good.
And that was one of the ones we had for the taste test, right? Yeah, when we had the Gas and Business Association on, they actually brought some Tony's, and we actually had a live taste testing on them. It was good. How about favorite local restaurant?
Sammy's in Dallas.
Sammy's. I haven't. You know what? I've been to Sammy's in Belmont, but not the one in Dallas.
You have to go to the Dallas location.
I will definitely have to check that out. Sundrop or Cheerwine?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Cheerwine.
Okay, that's me too. How about your favorite outdoor activity to do in Gaston County?
Well, my little boy loves to swim, so anytime we can be at the pool.
Sweet. Okay, sweet. Very good. All right, this is my question that I ask every episode, and because I can. UNC Duke or NC State?
I see your cup, but to be honest, I just want everybody to win. I don't really have a preference.
That's for our area, that's a very politically correct answer, Leah, but we'll accept it, and I appreciate you are noticing my NC State cup.
My dad is a State fan, so.
Well, he must be a good man. What is something very few people know about you?
That I'm a recovering addict. A lot of people don't know that. It's something that I'm very open about, but people don't don't realize that about me because of course I don't broadcast it.
Sure.
But in talking about it, it's not anything that I would hide. It is absolutely something I never thought I would go through, but it has prepared me for this job that I'm in. And so I'm grateful for the time that I had, and I'm so thankful that I was able to get out and show that, anybody can do it. I mean, addiction it does not pick and choose.
Sure.
So, yes.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I'm sure there are listeners out there who you might be able to relate to some of their circumstances,
right?
Where others might not be able to.
I think that really helps me with my clients, because it isn't just, it's not just saying, well, I don't judge you, but it's saying, I've been there. I know what you're going through. I know that there are some that they choose that lifestyle. I know that. But I also know that there's ones that they just would do anything to get out of it. And if you could just be that hand, you just never know how much it really could affect someone's life.
Okay, well, very good. So how about a book or a blog or article that you've read lately, or something that you might share with our listeners?
Well, I love the book, The Arena. I cannot remember the name of the author, but I read it as a young girl, and I've read it several times through my life, and I just absolutely love that book.
The Arena.
The Arena, yes.
I don't think I'm familiar with that, so we'll have to look that one up and maybe put that in the show notes. Okay, so again, I'm a big reader, and so I love that question. Listen, I've read a lot of the books that have been suggested through our through our episodes. So again, I appreciate you kind of indulging us on those Gaston County questions. So we're going to finish up here with just a few more questions. So besides Dallas Christian Ministry, Leah, why would you say Gaston County is such a great place?
It's home. I mean, that's the only thing I can really say about it. It is home. I don't think I could live anywhere else.
Listen, I'm a Gaston County native myself, so I can appreciate that very much.
Yes.
So, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Keep pushing. Don't give up. I don't know. When you have that tug that you're here for a purpose, there is a reason.
Right.
Keep going, I guess, because you're going to find your reason. Yeah.
Listen to what you're hearing.
Right.
Some people, I know when I was younger, I think I heard sometimes and I didn't want to hear it.
Yes.
I said, that's not what I want to do. So I want to listen to something else. So again, I appreciate greatly that answer to that question. So here's the big one, and most important overall is, where can our listeners go to learn more about the organization, donate, volunteer, get involved, just anything and everything you'd like to share there? So
we have our website, which is www.dallaschristianministry.org. And then we have our Facebook. I think you can do .com too. I think it works both ways.
Okay.
But we have our Facebook, and that's where I do most of our uploads. I do lives, updates, things like that on our Facebook. We're listed under Dallas Christian Ministry on there. And then they can always come by our organization. We used to tell people all the time, come see what we do. But now, because of COVID, we don't really open our doors except to volunteers. But if you just sit across the street and watch, it would be just like mind-blowing at how many people come through there. But if anybody wants to volunteer, they can call our organization and set up a time to come fill out a volunteer information sheet or sign up. Right now, I have to be limited with my volunteers because of COVID, but we always need more volunteers, especially around the holiday season.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier a Christmas event coming up. Is that something that... What exactly, maybe go in a little more detail about that if you can.
So with our Christmas, because that's kind of where we started, we have always been very focused on our Christmas program, where we have the kids that live in Dallas, Shoals, Stanley, or Alexis, they can apply. And we do check with other agencies just to make sure. I know a lot of people are like, well, they go to all these different places. But we really try to make sure that we're giving the family the one and only Christmas.
Understood. Yep.
And we just gather information about them, and we pretty much put together a whole Christmas, just like if it was one of our children. That's what we try to do. We try to do one want, one need, one read, kind of like the same way the United Way kind of guides. Yeah. But we always do well above and beyond that. It's a huge event. We have a 3-day distribution.
Okay.
And like I said, we do 600 kids and up to like 40 special needs clients.
So if somebody out there knew a family or wanted maybe a child that could be involved with that, is that something they go on the website and get an application, or is that how that works?
Yes. So we will have a live application go up on the 1st of October. I can't believe it's already October. So in October, our applications will begin. And they can also call or come up and get a paper application as well.
Okay, perfect. All right, so before we finish up, any last words of wisdom, or this has really been good? Anything you'd like to share before we close this one out?
Not that I can think of. It's been really fun.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate it. I mean, this is one of those organizations that I've been familiar with, but I knew 2 or 3 of the things that you guys did, but I had no idea that you had 7 different programs going on. So I think we often think of a crisis agency maybe as a food pantry or financial assistance only for utilities. But as you can see, in like most, I shouldn't say all, but many organizations, there's so many more things you guys are doing. So, so again, that's kind of the whole point of why we started this podcast, was to bring awareness and recognition to organizations like yourself. So again, I appreciate greatly your time. So as I do every week, I'm going to continue to do this. I'm about caught up with all the books I've ever read, but my book recommendation for this week is really, if you're a business owner, or especially if you're a Christian business owner, there's a great book called The Business Card by Dr. Steve O'Steff and Peter, gosh, I'm going to butcher his last name, Frissell or Frissell, sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but it is about how you can maybe use your faith more and have your business a little more focused on your Christian faith, if that's the direction that you'd like to go. And my quote of the week is really focused on Labor Day. We're recording this on the Wednesday after Labor Day, so on September 7th, even though this is going to be released a couple weeks from tomorrow. But this is a quote I use around Labor Day every year, and it's on opportunity, from Thomas Edison, who said, "Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work." So I don't care what I've learned. If I haven't learned anything else in the past 52 years, is that progress, success requires work, and there's not many ways you can get around that. The work that Leah and Dallas Christian Ministry is doing requires work. It requires getting your hands dirty sometimes. It requires really being involved. So kind of remember that one on opportunity, and remember the reason for Labor Day. So to our listeners out there, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. Please spread the word if you can about the podcast, and please don't hesitate to contact us here at our email address, which is podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We're always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And please follow us on all our social media platforms. And apparently, giving us a good rating, a 5-star rating, helps the podcast gets noticed. And many thanks again to Leah Hedgpath for being our guest today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Amy Anderson from GSM Services and edited here locally by the Sumner Group. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.